Hey folks, here it is, Global Tarot Circle, July 30th, 2018. We are 1 minute away from 7 o'clock, so we'll be starting in just one moment. Before we get started, I'll just let people know what it is we do here. We meet together every month, generally once a month, here on my business page. I'm Christiana Gaudet. And what we do is spend an hour together with tarot friends around the world, and people are starting to come in. Who's first here today? Amy is here. Kimberly is here. Karen is here. You guys are the first three. You get a prize. I don't know what that prize is, but whatever it is, you get it. So glad that you're all here. And I love the way my program works. I can see people coming in real quick. And so we go from no one to a bunch of people all at once. So I'm so happy to see you all. As I was saying, we do this once a month, and we have a pretty specific format. This is Global Tarot Circle, and the idea is to gather a bunch of tarotists together from around the world where we can share readings, techniques, ideas, and thoughts about the cards. So, how do we work? Well, first of all, obviously, we're using the comment thread as a chat room, and it's important that you guys read that and chat with each other. We get real busy here, and I won't have time to read every comment. So make sure you talk with each other. Now, I see a lot of people coming into the room. I see Cheryl's here, Joanne's here, Jerry's here, Anna's here, Alicia's here. Glad you're all here. And I think a lot of you now already know each other. Karen is here. Glad you're here. You're all the way over in the UK. It must be like either really late at night or really early in the morning right now for you. I'm so glad you're here. So, if you don't have your tarot cards with you, run and get them. But you don't have to have cards with you in order to participate. What we do is we start each session with what I call burning questions. So, what's a burning question? A burning question can be the sort of question you would want to ask a room full of tarot readers. A question about your life. And that's why I want you to have your cards, because we're all going to do readings for each other. So if you have a question for a tarot reading, go ahead and chat it in. We'll get to as many as we can. If I don't get to you, I'm so sorry, but go ahead and chat it in. Now, another burning question might be a question about tarot. Perhaps you have a question about tarot in general or tarot readings in general. Perhaps you're stumped by a particular card or a particular technique or a particular reading you've done recently that you didn't understand. That's a burning question too. Go ahead and chat that in. For the first half hour or so, we do readings together, and everyone gets a chance to have a reading. Everyone gets a chance to give a reading. That's what we do. Then for the second half, we do some focused study. And what we do is I try to gather up some ideas of what people want to talk about. And I do that on our Global Tarot Circle Facebook group. So if you're not a member of the Global Tarot Circle Facebook group, please do ask to join. Please join us. There we can share stuff that happens throughout the month. We can share exercises that we do. We can share questions. And again, that's where I go to get ideas for what we want to talk about today for each of our meetings. Now, one of the things that came up really strongly was a lot of people asking for information about professional reading, professional techniques, things of that nature. So I have two things to say about that. Number one, if you are, speak of the devil, Chris Ann, I'm talking about you. If you are a professional reader or want to be a professional reader, I do want to let you know that I do one-on-one mentoring. I did literally write a book on professional reading called Fortune Stellar, What Every Professional Tarot Reader Needs to Know. That's available on Amazon for your Kindle or in paperback. And I do have some new online classes that will be coming out very soon of interest to the tarot professional. But you know what? There was so much interest in the Global Tarot Circle group about sort of questions about professional reading that I thought it would be fun to add to our format a regular section that maybe once a month when we meet together anyway, maybe we could spend a few minutes every month talking about the concerns of professional readers specifically. And, you know, I really like gathering together a group that is everyone from brand new beginners to professionals and everyone in between. I like to do that in person and I like to do that here online. But I do think that it's a nice idea for us to talk about reading on a professional level as well as reading on a personal level. But let me just say this. I really like to be a mentor and an encourager of professional readers. But I also believe that the first best use of tarot is always for our personal use. And so for those of you who are not professional readers, who never want to be professional readers, please do not think that your relationship with the cards is any less significant, any less important, any less spiritual than anyone else's. It is true. You know, one thing I think about with myself, I wonder if there are any people on the planet who have literally spent as many hours reading tarot for other people professionally as I have. I've just been doing it for so long and I work such an intense, insane schedule. I wonder, you know. So the point is, if you've done a lot of readings, you have a lot of experience, and experience might make you a better reader or not. You know, I've known people who have done the best reading of the planet their very first time out the gate. Because this is a spiritual process, it is about skill, but it's also about something else. So we will be talking about readings, both personal and professional today. We'll be offering techniques to people at all levels of reading, but wherever your level of reading is, don't think that your knowledge or what you bring to the table or how you see the cards is any less important or significant than anyone else's. So I see questions starting to come into the room. And you know, usually I start by asking everyone to say where in the world they are and what deck they're working with and all of that. I didn't even think to do that today, but if you want to, when you chat in, tell us where you are in the world, what deck you're working with, but most importantly, tell us your questions. Now, Celeste said she needs to gain confidence. Celeste, are you talking about pro reading? I mean, you've had your deck for a long time. Are you interested in reading? And is that a question? Is it a question about how do you gain confidence for professional reading? That's certainly something we can talk about. Let us know. Hey, Monica Smith is here. Monica's been doing some mentoring with me recently. Okay, we're going to start readings. We've got Leisha and then we've got Jerry. Here's the deal. You got your deck. Everyone who wants to. And Celeste, that's a yes. Okay, we're going to talk about that, I promise. So let's get to some readings. Here's the way we do it. I find a question. If you have a question, type it in. If I see it, we'll do it. If I see it and we have time, we'll do it. I'm going to read the question. I'm going to do a one-card reading, and I'm going to invite you to do the same so that when we put all the cards together, it kind of makes a full reading. Now, I'm not going to have time to read aloud everybody else's reading. So if you ask a question, make sure you read in the comments so you can get your whole reading. Okay, we're going to start with Leisha. I haven't found a partner to share my life with and wondered if I would meet someone. Do we see something coming in Leisha's love life? What can we see for him? Let's take a look. One card. Page of Wands reversed. So what I say is I feel like you need to change where your hunting grounds are. I feel like you haven't found because you're not looking in the right place. It may not be something where it's just going to pop up. You may have to go seeking it. So if you would like to read for Leisha, pull one card, and what you're going to do is in the comments, write his name, Leisha, Leisha, then the name of the card you got, and then your interpretation. Don't just tell us the card, tell us your interpretation. Okay. So very good. Let's get on to the next question. Okay, we've got, I'm going to come back to Celeste and Confidence for professional reading. I'm going to now go to Jerry. What do I need to know about the job I interviewed for last week? Haven't heard back yet. So really the question is, do we think she got the job? She interviewed for a job. Did she get the job? If you would like to read for Jerry, just put her name in, Geri, the name of the card you got, and your interpretation. What do we think about this interview? Strength reversed. You may not. It's possible that this job is not yours. And honestly, if it's not, I wouldn't worry about it. I think it may not be. If you don't get it, don't worry. That's really my answer. So when you're doing readings, make sure you put the name of the person you're reading for, because we'll have a lot of readings going by, the card, and your interpretation. Okay, we've got Vriti here from India. So glad that you're here. We've got Amy from North Carolina. Amy just got married. We knew that was happening. Congratulations. Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, here's a question. Monica wants to know what her life purpose is. Such an interesting question, which of course assumes that we have a life purpose. I don't know, but we can try. And this is a really good teachable moment in doing a really spiritual, esoteric reading. So, what is Monica's life purpose? If you want to read for Monica, put her name, Monica, the name of the card, and your interpretation. What is Monica's life purpose? One card, Knight of Pentacles reversed. What a teachable moment, folks. Because these kinds of deep questions are good questions for us to ask in our practice. Whether we believe there is a destined life purpose or simply the purpose that we find for ourselves, it's a great question. But it's so much easier if you get a card that really speaks to that. If you got the Six of Pentacles upright, your purpose is to help others. If you got the Three of Cups, your purpose is to enjoy your community. But what do you do with the Knight of Pentacles reversed? Your purpose is to not work? Your purpose is to not pursue money? I don't think so. How would we interpret the Knight of Pentacles reversed as purpose? I would say your purpose is to explore the road less traveled, even when that feels difficult, and to recognize the riches that come from that. Anyone else up for that challenge? What is Monica's life purpose? Go ahead and do the reading. Okay, here's Lee, my friend from Jupiter. She needs a job. Do we see a new job for Lee? If you'd like to do a reading for Lee, go ahead, put her name in, Lee, Lee, the name of the card, and your interpretation. A new job for Lee. Seven of Swords reversed. Don't worry about it. It will happen. The more you worry about it, the worse it gets. Okay, my favorite esoteric question coming in from Amy. Amy says, what does the universe want me to know today? Anyone who would like to do a reading for Amy and answer that question, go ahead, put her name in, the name of the card, and your interpretation. Okay, what does the universe want Amy to know today? Oh, this is so great. Amy literally got married 5 minutes ago. Well, I don't know if it's 5 minutes ago. But the last time we were here a month ago, she had a different last name. So what do you need to know? 10 of Cups. You married the right dude. Yay! Okay. Let's see. Here's Kimberly, my good tarot friend Kimberly. One day I hope to meet you in person. And Kimberly wants advice on finding love. And I love the way she put that. Not will I find love, but what is advice on finding love? Okay. Let's see. What advice can you give Kimberly on finding love? Let's see. King of Wands reversed. The problem is not that you won't find the wrong one. No. Start again. Erase. The problem is not that you won't find the right one. The problem is that you might waste too much time on the wrong one. When looking for love, be careful not to over-spiritualize or over-romanticize certain connections. You may end up wasting time with Mr. Wrong when you could be looking for Mr. Right. Or Ms. Wrong and Ms. Right, if that's where we go. I'm bad at gender, and gender doesn't matter anyway. The point is, if you're with the wrong one, you can't find the right one. Okay. Let's see what we got going on. Here we go. Okay, Linda Rogers. Linda Rogers' career. What will be surrounding me in career for the next 3 months? Okay, so short-term career forecast for Linda. If you'd like to read for Linda, go ahead. You know what to do. Her name, the name of the card, and your solution. Or your interpretation. Sometimes it's a solution. Okay. What will be surrounding career for Linda in the next 3 months? The world reversed, somehow feeling unsettled. Whether it's that you need a job change, you need a new job, it may take a little while. It may be your current job doesn't feel good, doesn't feel settled. Ride it out for the period of time you need to. Okay. Hey, some love from Marion for my book. Thank you. I think you supported it in the beginning, and I appreciate that. Okay. Let's see. Lots of people doing readings. I appreciate that so much. Okay. Tana, thank you so much for being here. Tana wants to know about her upcoming divorce. Okay. If you'd like to do a reading for Tana, Tana, go ahead. Put her name, the name of the card, your interpretation. Tana's upcoming divorce. 9 of Wands. It's going to take some time and it's going to be hurtful. Be patient. Be protective of yourself. Be proactive where you need to. It will take time. Obviously, it's a necessary thing. Okay, let's see what we got going on. And remember, if we're reading for you, make sure you're reading in the comment thread to get all of your readings. Because we got a lot of them going on here. Okay. Let's see. Oh, some love from Chris Ann for my take on the reverse night. Yeah, it takes a minute. Okay, Karen, my good friend Karen from Pennsylvania. Karen's solar return. What does the next year hold? Happy birthday, first of all. A solar return birthday reading for Karen. What can she expect in this upcoming year for her? Go ahead and read for Karen if you like. Ah, hallelujah, finally. Karen, you get the star. So what can we see in this year? Happiness, satisfaction, abundance, wishes fulfilled, and maybe even great sex. Yay! Happy birthday. And let's see what we got here. Okay. We got some life purpose for Monica. We got some love for Kimberly. Let's see. Okay. Lots of stuff going on here. Not seeing any questions. Okay. If I've missed a question, go ahead and type it in again. If you have any other questions for readings, go ahead and type them in. Otherwise, we will move on into our study segment. And as I said, we're going to do a little segment specifically for pro reading, and then we'll do a segment for tarot at all levels. Obviously, it all connects in. Lots of good readings here. Looks like Karen's going to have a damn good year. Happy birthday, my friend. You deserve it. We got the Chariot for you. We got the Nine of Cups for you. All kinds of good stuff. And it's interesting, from Amy Furtana, the Four of Pentacles, that protective energy. I really feel, looking at that and looking at what I saw with that Nine of Wands, protecting yourself really is very important. Okay, we got a couple of questions coming in. So we'll handle these 3 questions coming in. Oh, 4 questions. We've got Keith there too. We'll handle the next few questions and then we'll move forward. Okay, and there's Monica double dipping. I think we'll let her. It's her first time here and I really like her, so maybe we'll let her double dip. It'll be interesting to see it. I'm curious what comes up there too. Okay, so we will do Serena, Kimberly, Danielle, Keith, and Monica, and then we'll move on to our study portion. Okay, Serena, something about your relationship with time. What an interesting question. If you were sitting at my table, I would really want you to expand on that question. But since you're not, let's just do it. Serena's relationship with time. The Magician. You create your relationship with time. If you don't like it, you can change it. There we go. So if you'd like to handle that interesting question from Serena, go ahead. Kimberly likes the life purpose question. Kimberly taking a page from Monica's notebook and asking about her life purpose. Go ahead. Oh, and that's a double dip too. Man, both you guys double dipping. But you know what? We'll do it. We'll do it. Kimberly's life purpose. The Six of Wands reversed. Okay, this is another one. Watch carefully, folks. Your life purpose, Kimberly, is to win and know that you can win even when things aren't looking good, and to help other people turn their lives around when they need to. Okay. Danielle, advice for an upcoming challenge. Anyone want to read for Danielle? Her name, the card, the challenge, advice for an upcoming challenge. Queen of Wands reversed. Don't give up your power. As you look at this challenge, there may be something about this challenge that makes you feel less than yourself. Don't give up your power. Know your power to be able to handle it. Okay. Next one, Keith, where does the universe want me to move to? Gosh, I wonder what the options are. Very interesting. Let's see what happens. Okay, anyone want to read for Keith about where maybe he should move? Interesting question. Let's see how you do with that one. The Hermit reversed. Move to where you already know people and have friends or already feel comfortable. Not a new place, an old place, or a place where you already have friends. Okay, and Monica, the future of my relationship with my guy. I'm not going to lie to you. I've read on this a few times, and it's a very interesting question. I am very interested to see what people will come up with here. So, if you'd like to read about Monica's relationship, go right ahead. The Six of Pentacles reversed. You may find that he is not able to give you what you want and deserve in a relationship. Okay. Let's see. Going through, scrolling. Lots of great readings. Thank you, everybody. Danielle for the upcoming challenge is the reading Kimberly did. Nine of Cups for Diane, for Danielle, sorry, follow your bliss and do what makes you happiest. Okay, since we have a minute, one reading for Irene, who is always here with us helping out. Will Irene be able to handle a couple of jobs? What advice do you have for Irene about taking more than one job? Go ahead, if you'd like to read for Irene, go ahead and do it. Here's the thing, 10 of Swords reversed, it's going to be tough. It is possible, it is doable, but it ain't easy. Okay, let's shift into, okay, Danielle, I would love to know what card you pulled that told Keith to go to the mountains. Tell us the card you got. Okay. Let's start talking about professional reading. And I'm very interested to know if you would just sort of type in and take a moment from your reading or reading your readings and type in, if you're a professional reader, say, yes, I'm a professional reader. No, I'm not, and I don't want to be. No, I'm not, and I would like to be. Now, Celeste has asked about confidence. How do you develop confidence? Celeste is a very psychic person. She's been reading and studying for years. And she has said she needs more confidence to go professional. Does anyone else have that issue? Does anyone else have that concern? Go ahead and chat in and let us know if you're on that page too, if that's an issue for you. Now, to do a reading on that, one thing you can do is do a reading like, what does Celeste need to do to have more confidence to become a professional reader? And the card that comes up is the Fool reversed, like just do it and just jump in. But, this is an issue for a lot of people. I think there's confidence about wanting to do a good job, not wanting to look like a fool. There can be confidence about, when you're a respected member of your community and then you suddenly come out as a tarot reader, that changes things. So, a lot of stuff coming in about professional reading. Who is it? Karen says, no, thank you. And Jerry has confidence issues. She's just started reading tarot. So let me ask, what advice, those of you who are out there reading, Kimberly says, afraid of giving bad advice. Celeste is a Virgo. That's awesome. Afraid of giving bad advice. Chris Ann hopes to be a professional one day. So Irene says a smart thing, and it's a vicious cycle too. Irene says, well, with practice, you become more confident. And that's true, but you have to get out there and get the practice. But I'm going to say Irene's got it. She's right. And the way to become confident is to get out in the community doing readings without charging money or for tips or something like that, so that you're not in a situation where you're like, okay, I'm going to charge you a bunch of money and also potentially give you bad advice. If you can say to people at your table, I'm a student, I'm just learning, take it with a grain of salt, but let's see what happens. Let's have fun. And read for people from that perspective. You can put a tip jar out, whatever, and see how it works for you. Now, even the most seasoned professional could end up giving bad advice. And so you want to be really smart about the way you give advice. You want to make sure you consider all sides of a situation. You want to make sure you ask every question. You want to make sure that you refer to appropriate authorities. So practice builds confidence, and get practice by reading as a student, putting yourself out there as a student, and reading for people as a student. Here on Facebook, there's a lot of groups where you can do that. The other thing is to trust the oracular moment. to really be clear about when you do a reading, going into it as a ritual, as a spiritual experience. And, maybe light some candles, burn some incense if you're not allergic, say a prayer, create sacred space, meditate, really make it a spiritual experience. And at that point, I think you will have more confidence in the power of the oracular moment. Oh, Serena's so sweet. She says, mentor with me. I appreciate that and would be happy to do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, and a card for Celeste, Tame Your Mind, from Danielle, the Five of Wands. Amy says, and there are a few people here who have mentored with me, and Amy says that working with me helped her confidence, so that's fabulous. And Celeste says she's a perfectionist. And it's hard because there is no perfection in prognostication. And divination is perfect in its own way, but it is an art, not a science. And so you can't be perfect. And we professional readers laugh about that because there are the perfectionistic clients as well. And we'll joke about how, if you get in a reading, that you work in a bank and say the reader knows that you work in a bank, but thinks that you work 3 days a week instead of 4 days a week. Did the reader get it right or wrong? Okay, you're off by 1 day, but still knowing where you work is pretty good. So which is it, Are you going to be such a perfectionist that you ignore the entire reading because one detail was off? So there's that. Okay, so other thoughts about confidence and professionalism. Now, Celeste is a scientist. I mean, she literally is professionally a scientist. And she says, gee, as a scientist, maybe I'm not destined to read the cards. And that is such an interesting question. Can a scientist be a great diviner? Because diviners have to be a little bit loosey-goosey about the way they see things, can a scientist do it? An interesting question for the cards. My question is, Celeste, do you really need another job? Or do you really, well, actually, you do need another job. But honestly, I don't know if you could ramp up tarot reading to replace your salary. So there's that. Do you really want to read professionally? Or is it that you're looking to deepen your relationship with tarot? Or are you looking for a retirement job so you can get out of your hellish current job? It's an interesting question. Serena says, they totally can. My daughter does. Lisa's interesting. Let the ego go and trust the cards. She's thinking that perfectionism comes from a place of ego for people, which in fact it might. It might. So we think that a scientist can in fact read the cards. And there's a lot of gray area in science too, isn't there? We only know what we know. So, let's see. What Kimberly says, the friends I read for in my old city thought I was ready to start charging a fee, but I don't get as much practice since I moved to a new city. Oh, I know how hard that is. Oh, here, Julie. Okay, Julie said a thing about scientists. Hang on, let me see it. Okay. Scientists can totally do it. If it's an interest, it's a mission, not a commentary on doing it professionally. Got it. No, that totally makes sense. And Karen Seeley, who is an amazingly acclaimed professional, says, I come from a science background. It comes in handy with analyzing readings. Okay, so consensus is, Celeste, science is not an excuse. But the question is, Okay, Celeste says money isn't everything. I'm a Virgo, therefore perfection is my goal as a scientist. I get that. I have a Virgo moon. I get it. I get it. And we have a couple of other questions for readings coming in. We're really sort of past our reading time, although I think someone did jump on Brittany's question. Kimberly jumped on Brittany's question, which is great. And interesting, looks like, according to Kimberly, Brittany will have love this August. Awesome. And here's a question from Uma, a good friend of mine, also a pro reader. If anyone wants to jump in and read for her real quick, she's got a burning question. Homeschool with virtual school support or brick and mortar school starting 6th grade for oldest son. Oh, interesting. I want to jump on that. Oh, and Celeste says, okay, I'm going to try. Yay! That's okay, Uma. We're going for it. Homeschool with virtual school support or brick and mortar. Emperor reversed, homeschool for sure. And wow, so Celeste, Karen is also a Virgo with a science background, and she is a pro reader. So you know what? It's okay, you guys, if you want to, you meet each other here. If you want to connect with each other later on in the Global Tarot Circle group or just exchange messages here, friend each other, that's a fabulous thing to do. Maybe you can help each other out. Here's a pro question from Amy. What do you do when there's someone in a gallery reading who purposely came just to discredit you? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Did that happen to you, or are you just afraid that's going to happen to you? So that sort of happened to me in Joanne Matthews' house. Joanne had me in to do sort of a gallery thing for a holiday party. And it was there I met people who became good friends for a long time. But one of them heckled me. And he wasn't there to be mean. He really wasn't. But he did heckle me. What you have to do is have a sense of humor and sort of heckle him right back. It happened. Okay, was it really mean-spirited? If it's really mean-spirited, you know, the thing to do is to sort of call people out for being assholes. You know, anyone can discredit anyone by putting them on the spot. Certainly. I'm sorry that happened to you. I will tell you that has, you know, I can't say that's never happened to me. That has happened to me. A person on a witch war. Was it a Christian? Not that all Christians are like that, but there are people who feel empowered in that way to be like that. Karen says, keep smiling and take them down. Yeah. Basically, the bottom line is, and this really is a confidence issue too, don't let them shake you. Don't let them bother you. Don't let them piss you off. Keep your sense of humor. And if you have to call them out for being mean-spirited, call them out for being mean-spirited. You know, look, if you wanted to come to this group tonight to show everyone what a dick you are, well then congratulations, that's just what you did. And move on. Oh, another metaphysical practitioner it was for Amy. It was competition. You know what? I have heard this happens. That readers go to each other's galleries to make them look bad. I have heard of this. And it is such a professional discourtesy, such a ridiculous thing. Just call them out for being an asshole. I've had people do that to me, and I've had people do that to me in my classes, coming to classes that I'm teaching to try to discredit me. It is a very obnoxious thing, but I will tell you this, if you lose your temper, you lose. Oh, to hecklers, Julie has said, you have your relationship with God, I have mine. So yeah, it can happen. There can be a lot of that. And so when we talk about confidence, part of confidence is being confident in your ability to handle the a-holes of the world. And Amy says, I just opened up a hole in the floor and sent it down to vaporize in the magma. Yeah, well done. It is gross. It is gross. So yeah, when we talk about confidence issues, that's a thing. Marion's telling a story about a person who walked up to her when she was reading in tarot in public and said, "I hate tarot." Marion says, "I smiled and asked her to step away so people who did like tarot could come through." Amy said, "I just maintained my lane on the surface and continued caring for everyone else there." That's what you do. It doesn't feel good when it happens, but that's what you do. So the questions that came up for today really had to do about our relationship with the cards. Joanne asked about burnout. If you ever get to a place where you're just like, tarot schmarrow, who cares? Not into it. Kimberly wanted to know, well, if you want to work with your cards, but you don't really have a question for divination, what do you do? And then Chris Ann and Irene and a few other people, I'm sorry, whose name I don't remember because I'm a better psychic than I am a rememberer, came in with some questions about professional reading specific to spreads and reading style and how that all works. And I will tell you again, some of those are my trade secrets that I will reveal in mentoring sessions and I will reveal in some upcoming classes. And there are some great things going on in the chat room right now in the comment thread. So definitely check out what's going on there. But when we talk about, there's an intersection on personal and professional. When we talk about two things that came up, one is burnout, because professional burnout is like personal burnout, only worse. And the other is about what to do with the cards when there is no specific question, but you still want to do an activity with the cards. That can be true whether you're reading for yourself, whether you're reading for another person who has come for reading but has no idea what they want to know. It can also be true if you're teaching a class. So let's talk about burnout first. Let me know. Go ahead and chat in. Have you ever experienced burnout? Either as a personal or as a personal reading, or as a tarot professional, and go ahead and chat in and say which it was, personal or professional. And I will tell you, I have no personal advice on how to handle this because I myself have never experienced this. So here's the thing though. When it comes to professional burnout, I can guarantee you if you're burned out professionally, it's because you haven't done the right energy work. You are not reading in sacred space. You haven't put on your psychic condom. You haven't become a conduit. You haven't become a good straw. That's how you burn out in professional reading. In personal tarot stuff, it is probably that you got sick of some of the crap in the online community, which happens from time to time, or you got sick of newbie questions, which happens from time to time, or you haven't had a great tarot group to play with, or you've had other things take your interest. And one thing I will say, if you take a break from tarot, it's okay. If you're a professional reader and you require tarot to make your money, it's not okay. But if tarot is your hobby, your passion, the thing you do for fun, and you want to take a break from it, it's been around for 600 years. It will wait for you. It's okay. Now, Lisa has a question. What do you do with the person who continually gets reading, same messages appear, and they do not listen to the messages? Depends on the reader. Some readers will just be done with them and say, I don't even want to deal with you on that same question. Honestly, I have a different take on it. I believe that if they want to keep having readings, they can. Now, I will eventually say to them, we keep looking at this question over and over and over again, and the energy doesn't really change. The answer doesn't really change. So let's take a look at why you keep asking this question. Why is this an important question? What's burning about this in you? And what else can we look at to help get you off this question and onto something else? That's what I do with that person. Okay, Kimberly, yes, total burnout. After I got highly involved with online tarot communities and experienced a lot of drama in some of the blogging and deck making collaborations. Backed off for almost a year. At the same time, started reading online and didn't have the energy for the "is my married boyfriend cheating with his wife" questions. So, yes, craziness in the community can drive you nuts. Even though the community is awesome and your tarot friends are your best friends, you have to be careful. And yeah, not every reader likes every client, and there are certain types of clients or certain types of readings that some people gravitate to more than others. Karen says 3 strikes and tell them to change questions. Back to Lisa's question. That's a good one. Joanne says, personal burnout. If not for monthly tarot circle, I don't seem to have any desire to pick up the cards, but the circle inspires me. That's what we're here for. Yay. Julie says, big time burnout, personal and professional. I just walk away until the energy returns and I want to do it again. And you know what? That is a very legitimate answer. We don't all have to be super psychic every day of the week, every week of the year. Well, I do. I mean, if you do it full time, you kind of have to. But you know what? I do it full time and I've never had burnout. So that's like, I'm in my right space. What your right space is completely up to you. You'll find it. You'll figure it out. Now, next question. The question is, what are activities that you can do with the cards if you want to work with your cards? Say, even just on an amateur basis, on a study basis, whether you're a personal reader or professional reader, whatever, you want to work on with your cards, but you don't want to do another reading. You don't want to do another divination. What can you do? Okay. I'm going to open that up to the group. What do you do with the cards when you're not reading tarot? Well, one of my favorites is to study the spiritual message of the cards. Think about this, that tarot is a book of spiritual wisdom, and every card has a spiritual message. So what if you say, okay, I'm not doing a reading per se, I want the spiritual lesson or the spiritual message of the card. Why don't we all do this as an exercise? Is it a reading technically? Okay, yes. But it's really not, because it's not predictive. It's not advice. It's simply, what is my spiritual message? And you pull a card at random and you find in that card a spiritual lesson that is always associated with this card. So, Amy says she shuffles 2 decks together and plays Go Fish with her kid. I have played card games with my tarot. I've played tarot card games with my kids when they were growing up. Julie says, sometimes I look at the pictures, zoom in on teeny details I otherwise would miss if I was thinking about an answer. Yes, and look at the pictures with a magnifying glass. Sometimes that's really, really helpful. Really helpful. So, okay, let's do spiritual lesson. What is the spiritual lesson of the King of Wands? To not be afraid to show people your talent. That's the lesson. And whether you want to take that as a lesson for yourself right now or not, the exercise of finding the spiritual lesson in each card is a great thing. Joanne says, I've turned the majors into actual people and put them into different situations and discussions. Oh my gosh, yes. The majors make a Christmas tree. The majors bake bread. A lot of that is actually, Joanne guest blogs on my community blog on my website. You can find some of her stuff there. It's fabulous. Danielle says, pull a card a day. Look at night, see what happened and what was the message of the day. That's a great study to see how the cards actually speak to you. So those are some great ideas. Another thing I like to do is I like to go out now that we all carry cameras with us. I'm old, so I still think this is cool. I know some of you have always had cameras with you and don't recognize how cool this is. I like to go out with photography and find tarot out in the world. Take pictures of things that remind me of tarot cards. So good stuff there. Good stuff there. And some folks are doing the exercise of finding finding the spiritual message of each card. You know, another thing you can do is research card associations and correspondences that you didn't know. Like, what are the esoteric titles of each card? Do you know esoteric titles? Do you know astrological associations? You may not want to memorize them or incorporate them into your reading style. You don't have to. But it's fun, you know. Celeste says I pick a couple of cards and study the pictures. Absolutely. Another thing you can do is comparative tarot. Most of us have more than one deck. So compare two cards from two different decks and see the differences and the differences and the similarities. Karen got the Ace of Swords. Scientists can cut it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Okay, so we've got some more spiritual message cards coming in. So there was a question, you know, back to the professional thing. For those of you who are professional, the question is, if you do an hour-long reading, okay, we're going to play with the hour-long reading. So I want to hear from people who either are professional or have read for other people at a maybe professional level, doing hour-long readings. What is your reading style? What do you do in that reading? How do you use your time? What spreads do you use? Now, Kimberly noticed that I tend to use a Celtic Cross. I use an 11-card Celtic Cross and sort of wanted to know how I did that. Chris Ann has another tarot activity. Go through the deck and find an example of each card somewhere in your life. Oh, that's a fun one. I like that very much. For instance, the 8 of Swords reversed is when I get to go home and take my bra off. Okay, so Serena says in her professional readings, in an hour, she uses dialoguing with the cards and various spreads. Lots of intuition and channeling. So I think, you know, figuring out what your reading style is going to be, and you know, this is important, whether you're a professional reader or not, whether you want to be a professional reader or not. It's good to be able to put together a reading style. And one thing I notice in a lot of the online groups is people sort of believe, that the whole of a reading is answering a question. And I do not believe that answering a question is the whole of a reading. A reading is seeing what's going on all around us. A reading is seeing what spirit wants to know. A reading is seeing what spirits are around you and what they have to say. A reading is all of those things. And so I like to, you know, and I think different people have different ways to do it. I like to start with a comprehensive spread, like a Celtic Cross or an astrology wheel or something like that, and see what comes up first. Now, one of the things that Kimberly asked me about is actually in a shorter reading, because I will use that 11-card spread even in a 5-minute reading. Obviously, I don't get to all the cards. In a long reading, I will get to all the cards, but I may not talk about all the cards. And that's an interesting question when you talk about reading style. Do you go card by card, or do you just sort of pick out what you see first? So Julie says she starts talking to them. Once she hears them talk, intuition starts pouring in and we are off to the races. Yeah. Karen says it depends on the objective. Often it's organic, or I design a spread with the client to examine the question. Oh, I love this. Good stuff. Good stuff. Joanne says I tend not to time my readings and I don't do spreads. Start with 5 cards, and within those cards usually lies the question. Then I go with the flow, questions along the way, and we come to a place where the reading just ends up with the client and reader satisfied. Amy says, for an hour-long reading, Christiana's 11-card Celtic Cross spread. I just gave Monica that spread, too. Additional card spreads for other questions which come up. Lots of conversation with the client most times, making sure all questions have been answered. Many times an oracle card or two to wrap it up. It's nice to use a different medium to wrap up. So Kimberly wants to know, if you are like Joanne and don't have a set time, how do you charge? If there's no set time or a card number, how do you charge? And I've known a lot of readers who do that, and it just takes as long as it takes. The problem with that, like I could never do that because I schedule a full day. I schedule a 15-minute break between my readings. So it can't be as long as it takes, you know. I do have a couple of clients where they like long readings. They like a 2-hour reading, I did a 3-hour reading the other day. And yeah, I still charge by the hour. You know, a 3-hour reading with me is $375. Some people have the ability to pay for that and find it appropriate so to do. So even if it's lengthy, some people like me will still charge by the time. But you have to sort of schedule in advance to get that time on my calendar. Other people charge for a reading. A reading is X number of dollars, and it's as long as it takes. Kimberly says, in live readings, I mostly do a Celtic Cross, going card to card. But it can take from 15 minutes to an hour. This is fine, except with the thought of going professional, and I don't know how to charge. So you have a couple choices, Kimberly. You can just charge by the session. You can say, it might take 15 minutes, it might take an hour, it's going to be what it is, and that's how you work, and that's fine. Or you learn skills so that it always takes the same amount of time. And that may be adding more cards. You know, sometimes you can do an hour with one card, sometimes you need an hour for, it takes 20 cards. Julie says she charges for the time. So, different things for different people. And that's okay. We all have our own styles, don't we? And the important thing is figuring out your style. And this really takes us back to where we started with the conversation about confidence. How did I learn my tarot style? Seat of the pants, reading for people. That's really the bottom line. Karen says she charges for time as well. I think a lot of us do. And, for me, it was sort of an ethical issue back in the beginning, wondering if readings had any value. Now I think they do. But I wasn't sure when I first started if readings had value. But I knew that my time had value. So charging for time made sense. Okay. Joanne says, I've come to a point where I'd rather read for friends now and don't charge them. We trade off other talents and abilities. And trading is a great thing. That's a fabulous thing. So we're coming to our last 3 minutes together. I want to thank you all so very much. Now's the time for shameless self-promotion. Amy says she charges for time, but runs over. Okay. Shameless self-promotion. Go ahead and drop a link to your webpage, a link to the book you wrote, a link to what you're selling. Drop a link. I'm going to give you my shameless self-promotion verbally. And first of all, let me say I appreciate you all being here. We'll do it again next month. We do it every month. If you happen to be local in the South Florida area, we do this in person once a month at Panera in Palm City. I also want to let you know I have opened my conference room here at my office in Palm City, and there are all kinds of classes coming up, including a free tarot class on August 8th. I also do want to let you know there'll be some new online classes coming. I'll let you know about that when that happens. My next trip to Connecticut has been scheduled. I will be in Connecticut and New York City coming up in September. I will be there September 6th through the 18th. If you'd like to book something, let me know. I am also doing 2 classes, one in New Haven, one in Madison. In New Haven, I will be teaching a tarot class, so I hope to see you there. In Madison, it will be a class on intuition and intention using essential oils to encourage intuition and manifest intention. Got a bunch of stuff coming up. And of course, if you have not read my book, by all means, go to Amazon and get it. And we see Julie has dropped her blog. Serena has dropped her website, Bean of the Fields Tarot. Karen, Pure Blessed Tarot. I really appreciate you all being in here. You're all being here. Thank you so much. And, you know what else I wanted to let you know? My newsletter. Remember that my newsletter used to be weekly and then suddenly it wasn't? Well, that's because there were changes in the way my business was working. Changes have made again, and the newsletter is going to be weekly again. So look for it every Wednesday in your inbox. And if you haven't signed up for it, go to my website, ChristianaGaudet.com, and sign up for it. If you happen to be watching this in archive, clearly we're no longer live, but I thank you so much for being here. Everyone, thank you so much for being a part of Global Tarot Circle. This is archived on Facebook and YouTube. And so hop on over to Facebook, join the Global Tarot Circle group. We'll see you all there, and we'll see you back here on my business page next month. Thank you so much.